Okay, next slide, please. And here, I believe now at this time, I do hand it over to Ms. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Ellem. I'm going to be talking about the Ethics Act. Now, the Ethics Act applies to all state public employees and public officials. The Act does not apply to contract workers. So for those of you ALJs who are not actually employed by the state, but you hold contracts with a state agency to provide administrative law judge services, you are not subject to the Ethics Act. So you can tune this last part out if you so choose. But for the rest of you, let's continue. I'm going to be talking about some of the biggest provisions in the Ethics Act, but please know that if you are employed by the state, you need to know about all of the provisions in the Ethics Act. And so I encourage you to attend a training on the Ethics Act with us in some forum as you continue through your state employment. We have resources on our website. We always have a video, a training video that you can watch. We also have quarterly trainings that you can watch, and they are webinars in which you can participate. And we offer other trainings on request. So, private gain, that is the biggest, broadest provision in the Ethics Act. And it says that public servants may not knowingly use their office, whether it be their supplies, their resources, their subordinates, or the prestige for someone's unlawful private gain. Now, the administrative law judge version of private gain is a little more restricted, and it just applies to a judge using her prestige, her influence as a judge in a way that would benefit herself or someone else improperly. And I'd like to share this example with you. This was a case that was filed pursuant to the Ethics Act, but it did involve misusing prestige of public office. So I think the takeaways would be the same for you administrative law judges. And in this case, the local police were called to a circuit clerk's residence. They were called because of some kind of disturbance. And while the police officers were investigating, they decided to arrest the clerk. And the clerk made protests and said things like, "You know, I'm the circuit clerk." And the clerk made some vague threats to retaliate against those arresting officers or their departments. And someone then filed a complaint with us at the Ethics Commission. And it resulted, this complaint, in a settlement, which we call conciliation agreements here. And so this is a good example of using prestige of office for someone's unlawful private gain. And I can tell you that the clerk that was involved admitted that he violated the Ethics Act and agreed to certain sanctions. Some other similar prohibitions to be on guard about is using confidential information. The Ethics Act requires present and former public servants from improperly disclosing confidential information or using information for someone's unlawful private gain. And the ALJ Code of Conduct has a similar prohibition. And I really can't think of a way in which those would play out differently. But if you can think of something I can't, just know if you are employed by the state, are subject to both limitations. Other provisions to be on guard about that are similar both in the ALJ Code of Conduct and the Ethics Act have to do with accepting and soliciting gifts. And the Ethics Act prohibits public servants and officials, with some exceptions, from accepting gifts valued over $25 from certain groups of people. Most commonly, businesses or people that are doing business with your agency or who want to do business with your agency, or those people or businesses that you or your subordinates or anyone in your agency regulate, or specific people that are interested financially in whether you or your other coworkers do or don't do their jobs right. Turning to the ALJ code, the rule is similar, but has a little bit different language employed. In the administrative code, it says that judges may not, nor their family members that they live with, accept gifts from parties who are before them or who have interests that are likely to come before them. So, like I said, if you are employed by the state, you need to be careful to follow both rules. And both provisions have their own discrete set of exceptions that you'll want to be familiar with as well. The big one for the Ethics Act is that you may accept personal gifts regardless of who's giving it to you and regardless of the amount. You may accept meals from anybody regardless of the amount. And under the ALJ Code of Conduct, you may accept ordinary social hospitality, wedding gifts from anybody. And it looks like any ordinary social hospitality has not been interpreted by the Ethics Commission, or rather the Committee on the Administrative Law Judge Code of Conduct. So I encourage anyone who is interested in having any advisory opinions issued by us to please feel free to request one. The Ethics Commission's committee has only issued 12 advisory opinions to ALJs over the course of its existence. And just to give you a comparison, the commission has issued some 1,300 advisory opinions overall. So just like to encourage you as ALJs to get some more advisory opinions from us. And another thing to be on guard about is asking for gifts. Public servants may not solicit a gift unless that gift is for a charitable purpose. And charitable purpose has been defined by the Ethics Commission through a series of some 75 advisory opinions, and all of which can be found on our website. But even better than those opinions, we have a guideline, a brand new guideline that you can find on our website. And it's a 2-page guideline, and it has a chart, and it tells you what purposes have been deemed charitable and what purposes have been deemed not charitable. So that's a great guideline to look at, to see, make sure you stay within the limitations of the Ethics Act. Another thing to know about this provision and really all limitations is that public agencies might have stricter rules. Some public agencies might prohibit their staff from seeking donations for any purpose. And so you need to be aware of your agency's rules, because even though things might pass muster under the Ethics Act and the ALJ Code of Conduct, there may be a snag under individual agency rules. The Ethics Commission does have a limitation that it has placed on using public funds for employees' benefit. And the rule is in a guideline on our website, and it's titled Employee Recognition and Retirement Events. And it has all of the ins and outs of what is allowed and what is not allowed when a public agency is hosting an event for its employees. General rule, you may use public funds in the amount of $25 per employee per year for these types of recognition events. And there's also a limitation on retirement events, which allows a public agency to use $100 of funds for a commemorative item. And another thing to be on guard about is making commercial endorsements, endorsements of commercial products. So, for example, you do not want to acknowledge on behalf of your agency that you are, or your agency is, a satisfied customer of some product that your agency bought. For example, your agency contracts out with a court reporting service. If that court reporting service sends you an email after one of your public hearings or one of your hearings and asks you to fill out a survey, rating them from 1 to 5 on how well they did, you probably don't want to fill out that survey, because in turn, that survey could be used in their promotional materials, and that could be seen by the Ethics Commission as making an endorsement of a commercial product. Another big area to be on guard about is having a financial interest in a public contract. Usually that's one of your agency's public contracts. And the rule is that public servants and private entities they are associated with may not have a financial interest in a public contract under their authority or control. So, a quick example is if your agency has a contract, again, with a court reporting service, and you have any involvement in selecting who gets that contract, then you have some control over who's getting that contract. So you better not have a financial interest in that court reporting service. That means you can't be an owner of it. Your wife, your husband, your immediate family members who live with you, no such people can have a financial interest in that contract. And next we have nepotism. And the Ethics Act prevents a public employee or official from directly supervising or participating in the employment decisions concerning two groups of people, a relative and all people that they live with. And the Ethics Act contains some post-employment restrictions. So when you're retiring or leaving public service, you need to double check a couple things. The Ethics Act prohibits a public employee from, after they leave public service, from being involved in the representation of, in a particular matter that involved a specific party in which they participated in as they served, as in your case, an administrative law judge. And the Ethics Act has a revolving door provision, and it applies to elected or appointed public officials or full-time staff attorneys or full-time accountants. So we do not know if administrative law judges who are employed full-time by the state would be considered full-time staff attorneys for this provision. We don't have an advisory opinion that fleshes that out. So again, if that is an issue you face, we would welcome a request for an advisory opinion from you. Okay, we have reached our final slide and we thank you for attending. But before we go, I would like to invite you to our website to look at, in particular, our page for administrative law judges. And there is a link here on our slide, which will be available to the public. And here is our main page for our Ethics Commission. And you can see on the left all of our pages. And the second one down is for administrative law judges. And you can see there, if you click into the administrative law judges page, all kinds of good information for ALJs. You can view the code of conduct and the procedural rules. And here's an outline of the standards of conduct, things that ALJs must do, things that an ALJ may do, and things that an ALJ should not do. And again, if anyone ever wants to submit a question for an official advisory opinion, we welcome that. If you don't want to get an official advisory opinion, but you do have concerns, please feel free to reach out to us, anyone here at the commission, and we will help you navigate through your questions. Thank you.